Hello and welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage and today we're going to be having a look at Ethereum. Before we jump into the price action, I'd just like to say thank you for watching. If you are enjoying the content, please smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video and leave us some feedback down below. Also in the description you'll find links to Discord, come check it out, it's free to join. Okay, so let's get into the fun stuff now. So there's a couple of ways we were looking at this move. Potentially we did, we have talked about this. This could be a top here. We need to just see how things progress, but effectively we could still see some upside to, and basically that's the way we'd be looking at it would be within this structure here, looking for this as a wave, potential wave one, looking for this for a wave two down into these zones here of this 1596 to this 1516. So we did talk about this. We did come back into this 0.618 to the 0.65 area, this golden pocket, like we talked about in the previous video. And, for the most part, we could actually be starting to look to push away here. So we need to be careful because, like I said in the previous video, this could be getting more complex. And even within this structure here, we could still look at this as an A and B, and we could still see that push down for this Y wave here. However, for as long as we hold this low, we can actually argue that we could start to see some bullish potential here where we start to form some bigger five wave structure to the upside, looking for that potential of forming this bigger wave three here. Obviously, if we do take this low again here, at this zone of 1557, this would invalidate the potential that we are actually looking to start up from this point, but we could also still argue that this could still be valid for as long as we actually hold above this 1461. The longer this moves sideways here, the less likely it is that it's going to be a wave two here. So the more sort of complex and sideways this gets, the less likely that actually it's going to be a wave two. And then potentially what I would be looking for is that it would be the first leg of a move to the downside. You're looking for this 1448 to this 1192 range. And then we'll be looking at the potential that, we're forming something bigger like this as an A, a B, and a C, looking to come back down into these target areas for either a B wave or a wave two. So this is what we are tracking on the bigger picture here. So on the smaller time frames, if we want to get into the nitty gritty bits, there's a couple of ways I'm looking at this currently. So, like I said, we could see that this move play out where we have this whole move to the downside as an A wave. We potentially form this B wave to the upside here. And then we actually look to break down again for a C wave. So, within this structure, the way I'd be looking at it is actually this is a completed move into this low point, in which case, then what we'd be looking for would be to see how we react around the zone. So we have come up to the 50% zone already, and it's going to be important whether we find a rejection here or whether we actually look to push up a little bit higher. If we do reject, this is going to be our key support area, this 1580 to this 1611. Holding this is imperative for the upside potential of this C wave. If we start to break down too much lower than this 1580 here, it becomes less likely that we're going to get the C wave to the upside, and it becomes more likely that we're actually going to take this low here, this 1557. So we need to just bear that in mind. This is going to be our key zone if we are looking at this in a corrective manner. Just looking at this as a three-wave move to the upside here, and then looking for that potential to come back down for a B wave. What we'll need to be careful within this structure is if we do start to see five-wave movements to the downside getting too deep, it becomes more likely that basically we could see this break down and actually take this low. But for as long as we hold this 1557, we can still look for this possibility to push up into the zone. So this will be our key rejection area that we're going to have to keep an eye on as we move up here. Because basically, this zone here is going to be the range that we could look for a rejection, a fib rejection zone. So basically, within this, we'd be looking for this for that potential B wave rejection. So there's a couple of interesting zones here. That golden pocket is here, the 1675. The higher range of this would be the 1701 as a 786. This is the 854. I put it on only just because it ties up quite nicely with a retest of the high points here. So if we do move up into this zone, I'd be keeping an eye on this 854. However, generally speaking, we normally tend to come up between this 50% and the 786. So we'll have to just give it a bit of time and see how it plays out, and then look to see whether we actually follow this count, because basically I'm looking at this count, or alternatively, the potential that we've actually already started to the upside. So this will be if the bullish count actually fails, this will be my next third count that we could be looking to actually come down one more time in a C wave. So that is what we would be looking for. Depending on how high we come here, that C wave could actually look to potentially target. If we came up, if we argue the 618, that 1-to-1 would actually be down here at this 1491. If we did come up into the higher range of this and potentially challenge that 786 or that 854, that would be 1531 and 1520 respectively. So somewhere in that 15, the low 1500 area. If we do look for the C wave to play out. But like I said, as long as we hold this 1557, we can start to look for some bullish potential here. Looking for the fact that potentially could have been a completed move here for wave 2 and or B wave. And then we're looking for this wave 3 to the upside or a C wave. So like we said in the previous video, this is the potential to look for an additional 5-wave structure, but we need to just be careful that we don't have a bigger structure here forming where basically we have this as an A, we form this as a B, and then actually we come down again for a C wave, something like this. So this is still on the cards. We'll have to wait and see. If we do get a bigger if we get a 5-wave move up here, that just reaches that 1-to-1 area, then effectively I'd be on the lookout for that potential to break down again and actually take these zones and actually look to push down deeper towards us. 1448 to this 1367 would be a common area as a flat that would be looking for a potential support zone. So that's something we're going to have to just keep an eye on within the move. However, if it does start to progress higher than that, this is our target area for that third, that's 2076 range. Okay, so let's look at the internals now. So within the internals of this move, there's sort of two ways that I'm looking at it, and this is the way that we were talking about yesterday. We haven't quite reached that 1618, which we were looking for, that 1662, but it is still possible that we could be within a fourth wave here. And the way that I'd be looking at it is that potentially within this structure, we could be forming a triangle in here where this is a fourth wave triangle, this is A, B, potentially C done already here, E, A, B, C, D, and then we're actually looking for that E wave. Alternatively, we could still be within this and it could look to drop down one more time where this is A, B, we haven't completed C, and then we're going to get that D, E, and then the push to the upside. Although I wouldn't want to see it to get too much bigger than it already is. It's starting to sort of push the boundaries. I'd want to see this complete fairly soon if we're looking at this as a fourth wave triangle, because this wave 2 would have only been quite short here, so it is really getting towards the bigger side, and basically we'd want to see this break to the upside here for this zone here. If we move above this 1650 or this we move below the 1622, it would invalidate the idea of this triangle still progressing. But like I said, we could argue that there's A, B, C, I'd have to go D and then E, something like this. But if we break down below the 1630 range, that would actually invalidate this possibility of having this triangle in the smaller case like this. And what we'd then be looking at is the potential that it's either not completed or it's not a triangle. And then look for the alternative here, which would be that bearish, well, not the bearish count, but that possibility of actually coming down lower here, and that this is just an A, a B, and then a C. So that's the one way that we can look at it. And then the other way that we can look at it is basically, so if we do get this push up here, the target range would be the 1669 to the 1658 if we don't have further extension. Now I say that because sometimes within these waves, we can get extensions. So for instance, this can be a 1-2, 1-2, and then actually this progresses higher up. But if it's just a simple 5-wave move, this would be our targets at range for that white fifth wave, which would then be this third wave completed, the green one. And then we'd be looking for evidence of an additional fourth wave here, potentially back into the same zone as this move that we have over here. So this is something we'd have to just keep an eye on. If we do move up into this area, I'd be looking for that support to come back in here. Depending on how high we come, 50% would be the 1618 area, just off of this impulsive line here. And then we'd be looking for, we wouldn't want to go too much deeper than that. and then we'd be looking for another 5-wave move to the upside, potentially into this zone here of the 1683. So that would be what we'd be looking for that for the this kind of a structure to play out. But like I said, this fourth wave, I wouldn't want to see this to get too much bigger if it is going to be the case. I'd want to see this start to progress here again and actually look for this target range. The other way that we can look at this move, if we want to be more bullish within the structure, it would be looking for basically an extension here. So if we do actually lose that key zone of that 50%, and we actually look to invalidate, so let me just throw this back on for a second because I didn't actually talk about it. But basically, a move below this wave one high of 1614 would invalidate this white fifth wave here. So keep an eye on that. If we do get a drop below that, then this option is no longer valid. We would be looking rather at the other option that we're going to go through now. So if we do invalidate this that count, what I'd be on the lookout for is that we didn't have something like this playing out where we count this slightly different. And basically we count this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and say it's actually completed here into this high. And then looking for this rather as a wave 2 retracement. So the thing about this is we could still argue that we could get a triangle in here. It just could be the other way around where this becomes an A wave and then we get a triangle in here for B and then actually we break back down. So if we do that, there's a couple of areas of interest. This channel line would be an interesting one, just currently sitting at about 1620 below us. Alternatively, that golden pocket would be here, the 1616 to the 1614. The lowest we'd really want to come is the 1606. For as long as we hold that and we hold this low point here of this 1595, we can still argue the potential of some extension within these waves. So this will be a key area. But the problem, so with this though, so this is sort of the caveat to this is once we complete this wave 2, we'd want to see nice, strong, impulsive moves to the upside here. And that would be looking for this wave 3 target of the 1709. So that would be something that we'd want to see within the structure play out. We want to see good volume, see the structure get quite vertical and start to move, because this would effectively be a wave 3 of 3. And they tend to have the most volume, and they are the steepest, generally speaking, as long as there's not an extension somewhere else. And basically then we'd be looking for that evidence of that fourth wave down into this zone of this 1687 to the 1662, followed by a continuation to the upside here, looking for the 1732 to the 1718 area. If we do move up in this way, as we've got it marked out here, what will be key here is looking for this additional fourth to come in. And obviously we don't have any structure here, but these tend to play out into the same zone as the previous fourth wave. So keep an eye out on that. If we do get this move up into the 1732 to the 1718 zone, then what we'd be looking for is that confirmation of that additional fourth and this fifth to the upside. If this fourth wave starts to get too deep and starts to lose the 50% zone, then effectively what we would be looking at it becomes less likely that it is a fourth wave anymore. Invalidation of that would only come by crossing this wave 1 high down here, but that 50% is normally a cutoff point that we tend to use for looking at something as a fourth wave. If it starts to drop too much deeper than that, it becomes less likely. Though in this case, we would have to allow a little bit of a deeper correction, because if we were looking at this as a 1-2 here, it would have been very shallow. So this wave 4 could be quite a deep one. So we're going to have to keep an eye on it. It should be quite deep and simple if we do get up into this zone. So keep an eye on that. Obviously, these things all depend on holding these key levels. So we have to see what happens first off the back of this move. If we do push to the upside one more time, then we can still look at this potentially as a move like this, where this could be a 1-2, 1-2. Or alternatively, we could just treat it as a bigger 5-wave move. So the thing is, if we do get that fifth wave and we get this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, what we'd be looking for afterwards, I think I actually have it marked up on this other count. Let me just... No, I don't. Okay, so if we did have to get a bigger move like this play out, where we actually get this as a simple 5-wave structure like this, what we'd be then looking for is that retracement zone. And that retracement zone would be potentially towards this 50%, which would be the 1615 to this 786. well, 618 would be here at the 1600 area. So we can see how this basically what would we have want to see from here is a three-wave move back down into these areas, potentially testing the channel and then looking to move up again and looking to get quite strong at that point. So the difference between these two is that this is looking at this as a wave one still in progress, looking for a wave two to come afterwards. The other one is looking for this as already technically being within that wave three and looking for it to actually start to move up um, at that from that point of a correction in this area. So keep an eye on it. We'll try to keep you updated as best we can once we get a bit more information. Basically, the other, I mean, that we were also talking about it yesterday, that potential of a bigger breakdown in a in a five-wave count. But the problem is we have quite a lot of overlap within this, and it's not really making that much sense anymore to look at it as a five-wave move. The only way it would make sense is if we were getting extensions where this becomes a 1-2, 1-2, or alternatively, like I said in the previous video, if we want to look at this potentially as a diagonal in here, where this is an expanding diagonal, but they're not very reliable. So yeah, we'll have to see. But if we do start to break down much deeper here, we'd be looking for potentially, so for confirmation of a diagonal here, we'd have to push down much deeper, and that would actually be towards this zone of this 1400 area. If we do break down towards this zone, then we would have to treat it as something like this, where this becomes a 1, 2, then we would have had a 3, looking for a 4, 5, but then we'd have an additional 1 and 2 here as well. So this would mean that it would extend quite deep. So we have to keep an eye on it. We don't have that confirmation yet, and for the time being, this just looks corrective. So we'll have to just keep a little bit of attack on that and then see how we get on. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video. Leave us some feedback down below. Also in the description, you'll find a link to Discord. Come check it out. It's free to join. Once in the general chat area, just add mention a member of staff. We'll be happy to help you out with anything you may need. Also in the description, you'll find affiliate links for BYBIT and PrimeXBT, both great exchanges that we use on a regular basis. Using the affiliate link does help support the channel, and they do have deposit bonuses, so check more details on the websites below through the links. Everyone, have a great day. We'll see you in the next one.